Hey, welcome to the channel, everybody. I hope you're doing well. So please go ahead, leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already. It's a great way to help out the channel. And if you would, subscribe to my other channel. The link is in the description. As you might not know, the success of that channel keeps me doing this channel. So again, link in the description if you would. So as you know, guys, we'll be checking out some clips, and at the end of it, I'll be giving my opinion. So let's see what we got today and just get right into it. We are live.
Reducing population growth, that's this big benefit. The key thing you can do to reduce population growth is actually improve health.
In the developed countries, the big winners are countries that have shrinking populations.
I would like to reduce the number of people on the planet because there's too many of us.
When we invest in clean energy and electric vehicles and reduce population,
Wait. What the?
More of our children can breathe clean air and drink clean water.
Now, the world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that.
We're taking things that are, genetically modified organisms, and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein.
What the?
So in the next 5 to 10 years, for the next pandemic, we'll solve all those problems.
You say the next pandemic, there will be another pandemic.
Absolutely. We don't know when.
History teaches us that the next pandemic is a matter of when, not if.
We know what's next. We're going to have another major coronavirus pandemic before the end of this decade, before 2030.
If we really want to prevent the next pandemic, and there will be one, there will absolutely be an outbreak of another pandemic. It may be next year.
We need more money to plan for the second pandemic. There's going to be another pandemic. We have to think ahead.
We definitively will have to face other surprises, black swans, as they are called, maybe different kinds of viruses.
But also there will be a surprise outbreak.
Most of the work we're going to do to be ready for pandemic 2, I call this pandemic 1. We just need to mess around.
The EPA recently approved an experimental use permit to Oxitec, a biotech company funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. In an effort to fight malaria, Oxitec will soon release millions of genetically modified mosquitoes in various U.S. states. Programs are being developed to allow human immunization via mosquito bite. It was Science magazine that coined the phrase, flying syringes.
Just then, by sheer coincidence.
Oxford, Massachusetts, and 3 neighboring towns have a reason for concern as mosquitoes carrying a potentially deadly virus called Eastern Equine Encephalitis, or Triple E, infected a resident who is now fighting for his life.
We don't want to see another human case of Triple E this year.
The rare but dangerous disease can cause swelling in the brain. There's no treatment and anyone can get infected. The death rate is as high as 30%.
The city is applying pesticide to reduce the threat of the West Nile virus. To minimize exposure to the pesticide, please go indoors immediately.
Historically, we have pandemics about 100 and 150 years between.
You can give the whole world a shot, but you still got people starving and nothing. Yeah, see, ain't nobody saying nothing. Oh, you got to take this shot. You better take it. It's to save your life, and it's free. We're giving it free because it's to save everybody's life. If it's to save life, why ain't chemotherapy free? Why ain't insulin free? If it's to save everybody's life. So it's to save my life. But you got people dying of malnutrition. And we can't plant a garden over there, but we can send shots everywhere around the world. Somebody better open their eyes.
When something is free, you have to wonder what the actual cost is.
Did not push the vaccine. You were told if you had pushed the vaccine for your patients, say you had pushed 6,000 people who were your patients at that time to get the COVID vaccine, what would have been the income to you?
Yeah, so Blue Cross Blue Shield had an incentive program to get doctors to administer these shots. And under that incentive program, if I had vaccinated the 6,000 patients that I treated for COVID, I would have made $1.5 million.
$1.5 million.
Literally just following doctor's orders, following the government mandates, and now this is my life.
Free fries when you get vaccinated? I got vaccinated.
After every vaccine shot, and I had 3, my eczema got worse.
But there's also a burger element to this.
Do you know that I'm paying $1,164 on a medication called Dupixent? By the way, that's half off. On a drug that I did not need prior to this, prior to the vaccines, prior to...
Yeah, it's such a mess.
Emitting different light frequencies. So this was the work of Justin Ecoy, and he showed that initially the vaccinated would develop this orange fluorescent tattoo around the nose, and then it would start to go on their forehead and spread. And also, if you see here in the sclera, there is a fluorescent dot. And Dr. Hildegard Standinger, she actually reported this in 2008 after there was an aerial spraying of a fluorescent pesticide apparently used for mind control purposes. And she found these brain chips and analyzed them. So initially people were obviously dismissing this and saying, oh, this is just makeup. But no, it's not. And the other thing that he brought me, he came to my clinic, and he said that these filaments that you see here, a little plastic cup, you cannot see them, but under UV light, they're glowing, okay? And he brought them to me, and he said that so this came out of the body of a vaccinated individual, and when they would take hot showers, these filaments would come out. And I have been talking about the fact that Morgellons and the research of Clifford Carnicum of what he calls cross-domain bacteria, which is synthetic biology that's been sprayed via geoengineering, looks exactly like what we're seeing in the blood now in the post-COVID era. So he found this filament. You can see actually that it's totally attracted, to the finger, and that this is actually also spreading. It's coming out of the skin of the vaccinated people. Then we're inhaling this stuff, and it's self-spreading. It sheds, just like the Pfizer documents are talking about. So this is in my clinic an unvaccinated person who has been exposed to shedding, and you see this fluorescent filament come out of their skin. And what happened then was that I analyzed, so I then started looking at people's faces. This is a nose ridge of an unvaccinated individual. You see these fluorescent dots, and here's a filament that's coming out of the skin, okay? So I looked at this under the microscope. This is the fluorescent filament, and you look like it almost looks like a microcircuitry board in terms of, it has all of these little, what we call, nanorobots inside of there. And this is without UV light, and this is with UV light in different colors. It's clearly fluorescing. Here's another sort of image, and you can see just...
I don't know what they put in our bodies, man, but shouldn't be there.
Every childhood vaccine is going to be mRNA. They're integrating it into every single one. So they're changing the childhood vaccines to something new. They won't go through reapproval. They won't go through anything. They'll just change them. And all of the childhood vaccines are going to be gene therapies. So if you get your child a vaccine of any type, it's going to be a gene therapy. It's going to alter their genetics. That's the game. That's where the money is. That's where this is going. People don't care. These guys don't care about the COVID vaccine because they've made their money off of it. They've gathered their data. They've done their gene therapy experimentation on the population. But the thing that's dangerous is that they're tinkering with your genes. And that's what they're going to continue to do. They are now integrating mRNA into every vaccine out there. So you want to talk anti-vax? Here's anti-vax. Do not get any of them. There will not be another needle put in my arm, so help me God, for a vaccine if I have anything to say about it.
Amen.
Or my family. None. Zero. Every one of these are now getting mRNA treatments. They're redeveloping them, redesigning them, and all of them are going to include gene therapies. There's so much money in this.
Yeah, it's all about profits.
Do you believe that I have a lab tech that worked in an all-women's hospital in the United States who went to school for 4 years for parasitology, so she does have an understanding of parasites and what she is looking for? The results that she was finding in these women coming in with UTIs, urinary tract infections, was showing parasitic larvae. She was putting them in her report. And the doctor of the lab was removing them from the reports. So these women with urinary tract infections was never getting properly diagnosed in the United States. See, they're not allowed to tell you if you have parasites. No, the CDC and HHS does not allow that. Because if you actually found out what ailed you and got cured, got the proper treatment, you wouldn't need your doctor. You wouldn't need your big pharma pills anymore. She will be part of the documentary to blow the whistle on what the truth is. Parasites are very common, and most people have them. Some of the symptoms of parasites that most people don't know is gastrointestinal issues. So we're going to say things like IBS or IBD, Crohn's disease, colitis, appendicitis, cholecystitis or gallstones, kidney stones, thyroid issues, hyper and hypo, diabetes, cancer, brain fog, your heart rate fluctuations up or down, or both, your teeth breaking, your bones breaking easily, blood pressure.
Yeah, cancer is a big one that a lot of people don't actually realize.
The receptors on the cancers of the killer cells could recognize that. So even in the presence of chemotherapy, you don't use chemotherapy to kill the tumor. You use a tiny dose of chemotherapy just to stress the patient, the cancer, and the cancer says, oh my God, something's coming at me, and it starts exposing itself. So you go from hide to expose. So you use the chemotherapy at a low dose called low metronomic dose to use it as what I call an immunomodulator. Importantly...
Wait, I was asking, you're describing cancer as almost like an autonomous entity that has a goal, a will to destroy the human body.
It does.
But that's, I mean, you're describing like a...
It's a machine.
But with intent and kind of clever behavior. It hides? Like what? You're describing like some foreign entity in the body that's trying to kill the body.
It is. It's like a virus.
But how can a tumor know to hide?
Because it has genomic sequencing in there that actually blocks the expression. So
it sounds diabolical.
It is diabolical. That's why I spent 50 years trying to understand. It's not a human brain. It's biology and how biology can mutate. And actually, your body's a beautiful thing. I mean, it's an exquisite thing. So it has to have this thing called epigenetics. So it has the genomic sequencing that says, I'm not going to express this. So we can now stress that and block the block, and it now expresses something on its surface that our T cells can recognize. So that's the first step.
Smoke it out.
Smoke it out. But your body has mechanisms to smoke it out. It gets even more complicated. Your body has a thing where you can induce what we call DAMPs, which is damage-associated molecular patterns, but forget that. It's a way of actually smoking it out, so now your T cells can recognize it. Okay, so now you've done step one. That's just step one. That's one molecule. So this is why I think the FDA needs to understand we're fighting a war where you need battlefield awareness all simultaneously, where you have to orchestrate your Marines, your Army, your Navy, your Air Force, all in the right place, so that you can use the tumor in your body to act as the weapon, as the vaccine. Because a tumor has molecules that is foreign to the rest of your body, and if you educate your T cells to recognize those molecules that is foreign to the rest of your body, that T cell can remember. Now you have a memory T cell. So for the first time in 2024, in our package insert, we have a molecule called the BioShield now, I'll call it the BioShield, that can activate the natural killer cell, activate the killer T cell, and drive memory T cells. We now have bladder cancer patients who would have lost their bladder in complete remission for 9 years and still alive.
And so the protocol is you administer low-dose chemo to identify where the tumor is.
You smoke it out.
You smoke it out.
But at the same time, you need to have the natural killer cells and T cells ready. So you give them the BioShield that upregulates and stimulates your natural killer cells and T cells.
What about radiation? Does that play a role?
That'll kill your natural killer cells and T cells.
So no.
Unless, and this comes out, unless, today the radiation is what they call 70 gigabits, huge doses. Unless you give a tiny little dose just to the tumor, nowhere else, to smoke it out. So you use radiation in a very different way called SBRT, a low dose.
To identify rather than destroy.
To expose rather than expose. So the algorithm is expose, from hide to expose. The next algorithm is activate and proliferate your NK cells.
And that's with the subcutaneous injection.
Correct. The next algorithm is to educate your T cells with a vaccine that you anticipate that's going to be exposed. So you now have educated T cells ready. So you've got educated T cells, you got NK cells. And the next thing is to activate your macrophages so they become killer macrophages. And the next step is to suppress the suppressors. You do that all simultaneously.
How much human suffering is involved in this? There's a lot in a conventional course of cancer therapy.
All as an outpatient. We've done hundreds of patients now.
So someone taking this course is he going to lose his hair or throw up all the time?
As an outpatient, no.
Well, there you go. And a lot of these cancers can be linked to parasites as well. Ivermectin, you'd be surprised what it could do for you.
In 1994, the World Population Summit in Cairo, Egypt, had 160 nations participate, where they all agreed that the human population was out of control and must be stopped because the world is running out of resources. An agreement was formed that would mandate reduction of humans from 6 billion to 800 million by the year 2030. This meant finding a method or methods to wipe out nearly 95% of the population. Solutions were discovered, investigated, tested, then created, and have been in full force since. The procedures have been inflicted onto the human race are as follows. 1. Toxic levels of chemically enhanced fluoride have been secretly added to our drinking water over the last 20 years in every city and community on the planet. I personally oversaw the delivery of fluoride barrels to Denver, Chicago, Tampa, and Minneapolis water departments. The adverse effects of fluoride poisoning to the human body are numerous and debilitating. The effects to children is damage to their neurological development, among other serious ailments. 2. Man-made viruses and diseases. The AIDS virus, which was a designer byproduct of the American Disease Institute, was distributed through vaccines to the public in 1980. Instituted as a preliminary population control tactic, the results were successful and led to more lab-produced viruses that have since been unleashed onto the public. Among those, is the development of a mutated version of the common flu to replicate the 1918 influenza pandemic that killed 40 million people. The first strain of this new flu virus will be released to the public in late 2017. So if we see a flu outbreak in the late 2017 or early 2018 that's killing people, we'll know this is true. Right. 3. Killing us from the air with neurotoxins, barium chloride, cancer microbes, and viruses by way of chemtrails. Released into the skies daily over all inhabited regions by military aircrafts. The effects of these toxins are severe and over time lethal, causing respiratory ailments, cancer, damage to the immune systems, and sterilization in men. Since the chemtrail plan was implemented, sperm count in men has dropped nearly 50%. If this isn't reversed soon, the human race will face early extinction. Now the grand finale. This is some scary shit. In March 1997, an event known as the Phoenix Lights became the most infamous UFO sighting in history. A mile-wide vessel, clearly not man-made, flew slowly and silently over the state of Arizona and was witnessed by 10,000 people, including the governor of Arizona. To date, there has been no reasonable explanation. But for every witness interviewed, the craft was as real as anything they'd ever seen.
It's true.
Their lives were transformed. They now believe that we truly are not alone. However, there is another truth, for I know what they really saw. 1986, while stationed at an underground installation near Boulder, Colorado, I was introduced to Project Skybeam by Lieutenant General Andrew Garris. I was then led down a corridor and into a large hangar where a stealth bomber hovered only 20 feet above me. I stood there confused, and Garris looked over at me and smiled, and asked if I was certain of what I was seeing. I replied, of course. What else could it be? I was then shocked to find out that this wasn't a real craft. It was a projected hologram. Since the early 1950s, scientists have been developing holographic technology, and over the years improved it to a state that we can only imagine. As I stood there staring at the bomber, which looked so absolutely real and solid that I could reach up and touch it, I contemplated the possibilities. What if this projection was 1,000 feet up in the sky? How would anyone know that that was an illusion? The Phoenix Lights craft, witnessed by 10,000 people, was the first grand-scale Skybeam test upon the public. It succeeded beyond expectations. In October 1938, Orson Welles unleashed his War of the Worlds radio broadcast to the American public. It was so realistically portrayed, vast portions of the population went into panic. Terrified citizens scrambled to evacuate their cities in droves. America had been easily tricked by very simple means. To amplify this response, those who are truly in power, not only our country, but all the countries on the planet, and who are the true purveyors of the depopulation process, have formulated the final stage of their sinister plan. In the year 2024, a global event will alter the course of mankind's future. The world will stand witness to a massive alien invasion. Thousands of projected holographic alien warships will blanket the skies, sending people into a global panic. Real military crafts within the holograms will inflict actual damage to the surrounding areas to sell together. And as a result of the ensuing human chaos, a one-world government will immediately form without any resistance from the people. They will be the new world order. Once this happens, we as a people will be doomed to enslavement and accelerated depopulation. With that said, the only hope for human salvation is to acquire and spread the knowledge of these activities and agendas. Resist, retaliate, and conquer this opposing enemy. The time is now, as humanity is rapidly approaching.
Well, there you go, guys. So we've covered a lot of topics on this show already. You know, everything from giants to fluoride and everything in between. But when it comes to depopulation, I think it's all a rich tapestry, and it's all sort of on the same tapestry. Every angle we're being poisoned, we already know that. The food, the air, vaccines, the clothing, the list goes on and on and on and on. Everything is toxic. Parasites are another big one. I think parasites are one of the biggest problems that we actually have. The biggest issue that we have right now, though, is, I don't know if you fall into this category, but I certainly do. I have completely lost trust in the medical system. I won't go see a doctor for just about anything. I'll take my chances at this point. The amount of trust that has been lost in this sector alone in the last 10 years is astronomical. Especially when we already know that they likely have cures to everything that already ails us. We're just here to suffer. And you have to wonder why they always want us to suffer, why they always want us in fear, why they always want us scared and fighting with each other. It's because these types of emotions and this type of content breeds sickness in the body as well. They want us nothing but sick and tired all the time. You're easier to control that way as well. But it's pretty obvious the depopulation agenda is real. So I've been waiting for the next big thing, the alien invasion, the fake alien invasion, because that's what's on the docket next. A lot of us do know about this though and are anticipating it, so they could be switching up their plans, going into something different. It's hard to say. But near the end of last year, when we had all those drones flying around New Jersey and all that, I thought that was sort of a precursor to what we were expected to see. And a lot of other channels cover these drones and stuff like that. I kind of stay away from it for now until I have something more substantial coming down the pipe, but I am keeping my eye on it. So if a lot of you are wondering why I never cover the alien topic or too much about space, that's why. Anyways, that's what I got today, guys. I really hope you enjoyed these clips. Hope you found them informative. Hope you have something to share to other people to try to wake up the masses, because that is why we're doing this. But anyways, I will see you again in the next one, and until then, 80 Canadian, signing off.